expect those numbers to be higher. If you would rate your simulated workplace experience, you can see excellent. Only 46% saw that, and 62% of ours thinks it's an excellent experience. And then we had like, I didn't put it up, but it was like another 25% or so thought it was good, and then, you know, fair, and no experience at all. And then the last one is with the simulated workplace, the engagement of being involved with things. Based looking at the state numbers of 52.4%, thought they were more engaged because of it versus our 62.4%. And taking into account that the schools in the other area, majority of them have done this a little bit longer than we have. So I feel pretty good with the numbers that we have coming back from the survey at this point. And that's it.
Okay, you might have any questions for Mel?
Sure. How many years after they leave the high school do you follow these kids?
We'll follow them for several years. Basically see, you know, have an idea of where they're going in the first year, and then we do kind of a follow-up the following year. But we really, I've been looking at the data. We try to track at least for 3 years. That way we have at least some trend data to see where they're going to.
Do you have a system set up where they get back to you rather than you having to?
Sometimes you have to, no, but you have to call and find out where they're at. It's not been too bad. Most of them have been good about seeing them coming to the ball game or somewhere. Hey, what are you doing now? And being able to keep track of a lot of them. And what's nice is our instructors build a real good relationship with these kids. So they periodically send them an email or check back. So it's I think we have a little bit easier time tracking our kids and following them in some other places because of that relationship that they build.
I may have mentioned this to you before, but I'm not sure if I have, just cut me off, but I have a family member who's a pretty high-level trainer with Hobart Lincoln Electric, and the last time I talked to him, it's been several months ago, he told me to have whomever contact him directly, and he can actually provide training materials, courses, could probably set up a lot of certifications, etc., in the welding area. I don't know if the welding instructor has direct communications with Lincoln Hobart or not. It would be a pretty valuable asset to just contact. So
Do you have a contact number or something?
I have his number. If you'll have, I'd like to talk to him.
Okay.
And get an idea of what he has. But if you'll have, be happy to give you my number. You can have the welding instructor call me in a day or two.
He's your girls' coach.
What's that?
He's your girls' coach. Jamie.
Jamie.
Oh, coach.
Jamie Jones?
Basketball?
Basketball.
I don't watch basketball. I like soccer.
Oh. Hey, he's helping out with that.
Out with basketball, in with soccer. I'm kidding. But that would be a very good asset to just contact. I mean, I'm not sure what he could do, but he's in Pennsylvania.
Okay.
So
We'd love to, I mean, at least look into it.
yeah.
To see if it's something that would help.
Over on the auto technology, man, the service people in our community, and there's a fund over here, does that mean that anyone in the Macon County or anywhere, for that matter, can make an arrangement and have your vehicle serviced there?
Yeah.
Is there, is all this done during the school day?
Yes.
So they make an appointment or something to have that done?
Yeah, they make an appointment. What they have to do, they generally call us if they stop by, and they won't talk necessarily directly to Jerry. They'll talk to one of the students. So whoever's running the shop, whoever is in charge of running the shop, usually takes the phone call. There's a form that they fill out, what they need, and then when the folks bring the car in, they give them kind of a heads up what prior to coming in, like we change oil for this price or that. And if it's something outside of that, rotate tires or even order a set of tires, they give them a fee. And when they come in, we have a disclaimer that's on the back of each one of our like invoices that they have to sign off on, so that we stay out of the legal terms if somebody come back and sue us later on, because we're a training facility and not necessarily a shop. So that's how we can service a variety of things.
Now, do you know if the monies that they collect, does that go into a a particular fund?
Yeah, it goes back into the automotive
Into that
program, yeah.
program there?
Yeah, it's one of the, almost self-supporting. He's got it almost at that level to where everything basically they can cover, unless it's something expensive, like they had one of the lifts went down last year, and it was a safety hazard. So I had him to move it out, we bought a new one, and I ordered a new one, and we put it in, because it was a high dollar item of like $5,000 or something. But generally, everything else, they take care of it.
And they also do service, I think I read it here and remember, for like the
Yeah.
Southwest Community Action Council and LCOC.
Yeah.
Don't they service all their vehicles under a contract?
Yes. Yeah. And good thing is that, like during the summer months, he'll have several kids back there working, because they'll contract it for those kids to come in. I think he had 3, and there was 3. I mean, he probably could have used another hand. They stay busy. The good thing is a lot of folks in the community, and they respect the program, so you continue getting a lot of customers coming back, repeat customers, and so forth.
Matt, on the surveys where it talks about the engagement,
Mhm.
that's within the program.
Yes.
Do you have anything on that survey or any way to find out how that program is helping them stay engaged in their core classes?
No.
That may be something to look into.
I guess this survey is a statewide thing, isn't it?
It was a statewide, it was sent out through all the CTE schools.
You
were
just
sent it.
picked up on it, our statistics on that.
Yeah, I took our statistics out of it, compared how we did with all the other schools. Ours was much better, I was kind of picking.
I agree.
That's
Thank
right.
you, Mr. Miller, we
Kids.
appreciate it.
Oh, you're welcome.
Things are moving ahead, and that's what we like to hear, isn't it, Mr. Wilson?
Absolutely.
I knew he'd be happy. Okay, let's go on then with our next presentation is Mr. Mukiff, about the ADF grading system. While Jeff's talking, I was reading one of the opinions or something in the newspaper, and they were talking about, what F symbolizes, failure. And they were saying that it's just to let everybody know how you're doing, it should be begin with E, A, B, C, D, E. And F would be there, but F implies failure, so they just saying that there should be an F grade. It should be A, B, C, D, E. If it's really just to see if you're standing and not to try to say that somebody's failing. Just while you're getting ready, I thought I'd go ahead.
Yeah, there's a lot to be said for this grading system. As you know, the super embargo has been lifted. The grades have been officially released. And today, we'll get to have a first public discussion regarding the grades that our schools received this first go-around. I don't know if you've had a chance to see the article in the Lincoln Journal, but it's highly informative. It's most of the information, as a matter of fact, that I want to present and share with you, Sean included in his article, as well as the editorials. It's an interesting read and take on the difference in the grades, Sean. But very positive. I just want to thank you again for your support of the school system. It's phenomenal.
Thank you. I have an interest.
Very positive story. So on the right-hand side of your packet, you'll see paper clipped together. It says Midway Elementary School in King County. What you're looking at is the actual report card for Midway Elementary School. And then there is one there for all the other schools in the county. This can be found on the State Department's website, as well as much of the other information that we'll look at here this afternoon. I've noticed that in most of the newspapers, as I've tried to do a little research, kind of see what people are saying about the grades, that there's a link, like Herald Dispatch, Charles Gazette. I don't know, does Lincoln Journal have that on there as well?
I don't know. No.
But it's out there where it's easily accessible by parents, the public, to be able to go in, very easily pull up their school, look at the grade, and the other information that's provided on the website. Schools or judged in those 4 areas that you see listed there. In the areas of performance, improvement, persistence, and at the high school level, post-secondary readiness. And there's a definition there that's provided for each one of those areas, as well as the number of points that each school received in each area out of the total. So for example, Midway Elementary School, underperformance, number of points earned for students who met grade level expectations in math and English language arts on state assessments. Reading achievement for 3rd graders and math achievement for 8th graders is also measured. So under ELA proficiency, student or Midway Elementary School received 97.39 out of 175 possible points. Underneath where the report cards were located is a single sheet of paper that says A to F, and it indicates that these were the cut scores. You recall previous conversations that we had that the grades would be based on a bell curve. Which I don't think it exactly worked out that we did. It was close, but I know I was looking at your numbers in your article, and what I had pulled off here. There were 668 public schools in West Virginia that received a grade. 45 schools across the state received A's, or 6.7% of the total. There were 162 schools that received B's, or 24.3%. 356 schools, so the majority of the schools in the state of West Virginia received a C, which turned out to be roughly 53.3%. There were 90 D's, or 13.5%, and 15 F's statewide, which made up 2.2% of all the schools. On the report card, up in the right-hand corner underneath the school's grade, you'll see listed the number of points that school received out of the total possible. So for Midway Elementary, a school received 715.25 points out of a possible 1,200 points. If you look at that single sheet of paper with the cut scores, for elementary schools, so that's PK through 5, the cut score to receive an A is 813.53 points. Cut score to receive a B, 710.29. And as you can see, Midway Elementary was 5 points above the cut score for the B. Sean, I know you broke this out. You had some percentages in your article in the paper. I didn't do that about kind of how this played out, but it's what, approximately about 50%?
Well,
Of
the 715 out, well, 715 out of 1200 is about 60%-ish.
to get a B, but to get a C or better, it was what? Like
Oh, it was 50,
50%
yeah.
or something,
Yeah, it was-
right?
yeah. The main point I was making was it didn't correlate at all with a parent or a child's understanding of an A, B, C, or D. That was the point I was trying to get.
That last sheet of paper there on the right-hand side, it actually breaks out in a little easier terms to look at and understand. The areas, or the metrics is what it's referred to in each area, and the point total. So you'll see it says, at the top of the paper, it says elementary schools and middle schools, and then over on the back side, high schools. So it's the same information that you're looking at on the report card, but it's broken down in a chart, and it's a little bit easier to understand. What I want to point out to you is at the elementary and middle school levels, nearly 92% of a school's grade was based upon how those students performed on that end-of-year assessment. 92% of their overall grade. Approximately half that number, or what was, I think, of that 92%, 55% of that 92%, I'm sorry, was based upon student growth. comparing how the students did from one year to the next on the assessment, as well as just straight up proficiency, how many students were proficient when they took the exam at the end of the year. So at the elementary and high school, or at the elementary and middle school level, 92% of the grades based upon the assessment, and some of the other metrics that are involved is the at-risk population of students, as well as attendance is another area that was taken into consideration in determining their grades. Now, it's a little different for high school. High school's overall grade, 83%, was based upon how the students performed on the assessment at the end of the year. Approximately 17% took into consideration the at-risk subgroup, the attendance rate, as well as the graduation rate for the 4-year cohort. You and Kirk, you all want to jump in here somewhere, because there's a lot to this. It's complicated.
Great job.
So anything in there, because I know you guys went to a training, for something I'm missing, don't hesitate to share. Because over on the left-hand side, well, listen, before I get into that, the grades themselves. For any school that received an A, the State Department, State Board considered that to be distinctive performance. Schools receiving Bs, commendable performance. Any school receiving a C is considered to be acceptable performance. A D is unacceptable performance, and an F is designated as the lowest performance. As a result of any county had at least one school that did receive a D or an F, those counties will only receive accreditation rating of temporary approval from the state board. Only if you have all C's or above does the school system receive full accreditation for that year. There's so much involved in all this, and we're still trying to wrap our heads around what all goes into these calculations for determining the grades and what it means for school districts down the road. That's information that we continue to try to learn and build on here, that I can share with you as we become more knowledgeable moving forward. As you know, this is all so new. We want to make sure that we are up on what's involved here, what it means to the school system.
Jeff, what's the frequency of an OEPA visit expected to be? Every 3 years?
Every 4 years.
4 years.
So we're up this time.
Okay. Well, if you've got a particular rating and you can't, if you have a D or an F school, you couldn't get the rating you want, I guess. If you, in the subsequent years after that, if you didn't have a D or F school, would that rating change, before they came back for their next visit?
Well, what says in code, and that was kind of kicked down the road for another year, is that OEPA, when a team comes into a school, they have the ability, through the state board, they have to take a recommendation back to the state board, but the state board, through the OEPA, could lower a school's grade. But they don't have the authority or the ability to raise a grade.
Well, I'm just saying, in years 2 or 3, let's say you had a D or an F school, so therefore you couldn't get, what was that rating again?
Temporary.
Yeah, you'd be temporary. Okay.
Right.
Let's say in years 2 or 3, you did not have a D or an F school, they went up to the A, B, or C levels. Would that change that temporary? Would that be erased? Or would it wait till the next cycle?
I would think it'd be probably the next cycle, the next go around. I know that, and I know Sean alluded to this in his article, the cut scores, those targets are not going to change. I believe the language in the code says that once there are 65% of the schools in the state achieving an A or a B, then the state board will go back and take a look at those cut scores and raise them. As far as what it means for school districts or individual schools that continue to be low performing, it's my understanding that right now, it's only at the school level would there be any possible support, is what they're calling it, from the State Department to help raise achievement in that school. So for a school, for example, that, you know, let's say we get a 2 years in a row of an F, then that school, at that point, after the second year, would be eligible for some type of support from the state level, working through the LEA, working through the Central Office Administration. I'd liken it to what's happened at Lee County High School and Midway Elementary the last 3 years, because those two schools were designated in the old system as priority schools. And through the work with the State Department, what was implemented in those two schools, you know, we've seen some significant increases in achievement, particularly at Midway Elementary. I mean, a school designated as a priority school received a B in their first go-around for the report card. So that's the process in place. This is not meant to be punitive. It's really meant to be a mechanism, a tool to help raise achievement in our schools across the state. That's how it's been explained, you know, in all the
So after the second year of getting that level of grade, you're eligible for support.
Right.
But there are not any punitive actions at this time?
None that I'm aware of. Have you guys, do you all hear anything in any training? It's not meant to be punitive. It's really a tool to help support our students and what they learn. Again, there's so much to this, and we're learning, as you are, about what all's involved in determining the grades. I think what I wanted you to see, I think I shared this with Sean, and Sean said he didn't want it. This is the part where they show examples. It says the West Virginia Accountability System methodology for determining school grades. Kind of look at that, it gives you some examples of the math, what's involved in determining the grades in each one of those metrics. And I think Bill will talk both the test of this, that there's so much that goes into determining the grade that we don't have any way of determining whether or not the information is accurate. Is that true?
I'd say it's a matriculation malfunction.
Yeah. Whatever he said, right? It's pretty heady stuff. I mean, there's a lot involved in determining a school's grade and the formulas that's used. So I do know that this at-risk population, and Kirk, I know you can help me here, is that, you know, when a student's identified as a special needs student, or a student is a habitual discipline issue problem, or has problems with attendance, what else is included? There's some other factors. Those all go against the school's grade. So those are some pieces to this grading system that we're really trying to wrap our heads around. And I know the principals are looking at this really, really in depth right now, because, you know, they want to be able to maximize those points moving forward. So it's a matter of figuring out where do you get your gains, you know, what steps do you have to take so that you're not creating a situation where you're hurting your grade. Whether, you know, it's a student who is having issues making it to school every day, you know, that's a child we need to target. We need to find out what's going on so that that student's not someone that's, you know, making the list that ends up impacting the overall grade.
Jeff, how many, the field process, how many were they in the state field, and only 10 were approved? I think
There were hundreds of appeals made.
Over 500.
Across the state.
Over 500 appeals made to the state.
Out of 600 and something?
You know, that's our principals, our folks who know these students and whether or not that student should have counted, first of all, been part of the overall grade for the school, or if there was an issue or concern regarding that student, maybe something that didn't look right. Maybe the State Department had looked at that student in one manner and the principal didn't believe that it was accurate. So there was an appeals process that the principal could go through, and there were very few, as you've heard, that the state approved.
And in
So-
some cases, the administrators, when they did these non-academic sweeps, the administrators were not aware of when those sweeps were taking place, had no idea of when it occurred. We still, in some cases, don't know when some of these sweeps took place that identify these students from low risk to high risk. And those are still the things we're trying to wrap our minds around.
You know, there's not been much said, at least what I could find out there. Now, even at the local level, I thought there would be a little more said, you know. And most of what we've seen has been positive. You know, obviously our students in our schools are more than just a test school. I think we all can agree. But there's so much that goes on out there in those schools, that, great work that takes place. You know, that's the controversy that surrounds this type of grading system. Several states have this in place and have had such a system in place for several years. So, you know, I applaud the efforts of our principals, our teachers, our students each day, and the work that takes place in those schools out there. And I think, you know, I really believe that we have great schools. I don't want anyone to get hung up on these grades and think, well, this school got a D or an F, and there's not good things going on in that building. That's not the case. Again, this is based primarily upon how students perform on one assessment. And we'll work through this and we'll figure out where we're going to get our biggest bang for the buck and trying to come up with the points to get us up to the next level.
Well, right here on the last page, it says, in theory, no school could earn an F in 2017.
That's true. So next year it's possible that there wouldn't be a school in the state that would receive it. That's right. This is, Mr. Curry's looking at this A to F handout. I copied it for you in black and white. It's on the State Department website, and there's a kind of a question and answer on the back of what it means as we move forward. I've received an email today, I pushed it out to all of our directors, our curriculum folks, from the state, from the federal level, where I guess in the ESSA authorization, the federal government's involvement in what we're doing, as far as accountability is concerned, it was interesting to see that that in the final, I guess, guidelines for ESSA, a grading system such as this one's not required of school districts. Did you read it? Yeah. Sean, I'll send it to you.
I just about fell out of my chair, but
yeah, I read it. As well as some other things, but anyway, systems in place. I believe it's here to stay, and again, we'll look at it as a positive means to look at what we're doing and raise achievement out there in our schools. We're not afraid. I don't think any of us are afraid of being held accountable for our students, and that's how we'll approach this moving forward.
Do I have any questions? Sure, as time goes on, Jeff, we'll probably come up with things that reach certain plateaus and ask, well, how does this factor into that or something? And with the legislature coming into session next year, if they decide maybe we need to revise some of these things. I expect there's going to be a lot of change from a federal plan.
Well, from what I read today, I'll tell you what, I'll just push it out to all of you so you can see. It sounds like to me that the federal government's kicking the accountability can down the road one more year. So all the accountability that would go into effect across the country would be the 2018-19 school year. So it sounds like we're going to have another year. We were in another year this year. So it looks like states are gonna have one more year to get everything into place before it officially kicks in. So,
We'll find out, we don't know yet.
thank you.
I'm reading between the lines what Mr. Curry said. Yeah. All right, Jeff, thank you. Now, obviously, on a related note here, our principals have talked about their test scores. We had our LSIC meeting, and we've talked about how that is reflected here. Later on in the year, typically, someone from your staff, you or Mr. King, whatever, would talk to us about test scores aside from what the principals do. Are we going to try to do that again this year?
Mr. Daly did provide a brief update. We can do something more detailed. Mr. Atkins, Jones is now our person responsible.
Once you go to the school and you hear their take on things, I think you come back and see the county view again, if we ever have that opportunity. I think the more that we hear, the easier it is for me to absorb it anyway.
It's a lot to take, it's a lot to absorb.
Okay. All right, thank you very much, presenters today. Let's go to the administrative section in place. Can I have a motion? Carol? All right, second by Fred. Mr. McGee.
Item A is approval to post an additional fifth grade teaching position at West Hamel Elementary, effective immediately due to an enrollment overage. Item B is an agreement with Tally Mainland to provide transportation services for a student at Duval PK8, effective, and then we can change this date to reflect December 28, 2016, 12/28/16. County funds. Item C, school volunteers who on occasion may also serve as bus chaperones, athletic events, academic competitions, or school outings, and have completed volunteer orientation. Item D, the following adult students provide school bus for the 2016-2017 school year. Item E, out-of-state travel for the following employees, and the one in the middle regarding Brian Lawrence to Tennessee, attending a JROTC Raider meet. Those dates are incorrect. That was the 18th, 19th, and 20th. That was a Friday, Saturday, Sunday. There was no funds involved in that, and we didn't have to get a teacher to cover for Brian Lawrence. We didn't get subbed that day. It was a situation where they needed another chaperone, and I don't know if you're all aware or not. Brian does a lot of work. He volunteers his time with JROTC, and he volunteered, said he would go. So that's what you're looking at. And that's it. Excellent.
All right, anybody have any questions about any of those administrative items? If not, then is that an all yes vote on those?
Yes.
All yes. Okay, the finance section, we have a motion? I'll move.
Second.
By Larry, second. Moved on, okay. There you go.
Yeah, we got scheduled invoices, which are, the listing is attached. They total $443,609.57. You have budget supplements totaling $318,842.74. Budget transfers totaling $80,793. That list is also attached. And of course, we did the financial statement presentation earlier.
Now, yeah, I think you provided us at this time, or when you're going to do that, when are you going to give the 1% decrease? When do you want to present that to us?
Well, 1% decrease, I've already made the journal entry, and that's part of the supplement. That's already on there.
Supplements already?
Yeah, if you look on those 3 pages I handed you right before we started, it's in the middle of the page highlighted in red.
Okay, that's in there,
And-
okay.
Yeah.
All right. Anything else? If not, then all yes on the finance item. Yeah. All right. Personnel, motion please.
Second.
I think Carol and then Ralph.
That was quick.
I think we're going to get it. She's the lady. Okay, Mr. Bill, where are you?
Item A, employment of substitute professional personnel. Item B, employment of professional personnel. The effective date of that person should be January 3rd. She's working in a private school now and cannot be released until that time. Mr. Davis interviewed her and is really excited about getting her and wants to get her over there. Item C, employment of substitute service personnel. Item D, employment of extracurricular personnel. Item E, leave of absence. And abolish professional posting, BMW 17-4, Midway Elementary teacher, grade K. That was one of our overage positions. But we've had a sub in there waiting to see, and we couldn't get anyone to apply. So students have moved in the meantime, so we're not over there. Okay, so when you look at this sheet, we're still just 5 over, even with the West Hamlin job, because the Midway job that we thought was gonna be over is not. So I was told to keep this at 5, and that's what we're trying to do.
Bill, let me ask a question about that, probably way over the top. But when you said the students have subsequently moved away, do we believe they moved just because they moved or because there wasn't a teacher in place in the classroom?
No, they moved, and a
Okay.
couple students went homeschooled, some moved out of the district.
Okay.
And you know, there's a fine line there, and Mr. Midkiff and I talk about it, in that, you know, you have a certain time to put someone in place after when you have an overage. But sometimes, you know, Thanksgiving, Christmas break, people leave. So sometimes we're pushing the limits, not wanting to hire that teacher full-time, thinking that student may leave.
But what do you do in a situation when you have a time limit to fill a position in an overage situation and you can't hire anybody?
Well, we
Then
keep
you-
the sub in, keep posting.
Because that's all you can do. is
Yeah,
keep posting.
but there's some fine lines there that,
That's a good point.
in this situation, if we'd have got us certified, we'd been stuck with an additional teacher and wouldn't have needed them. So, we try.
Worked out in our favor this time.
We try, we have some serious discussions, Mr. Kid and I do.
Okay, does anybody have any questions about any of those or anything personnel related? Not, is that an all yes on personnel item? Yeah. Okay, comments and concerns, board members, anybody have anything to discuss or want to talk about?
I can bring this up, but have you heard anything about the walkway up to school? Not a word. And I'll follow up with Leslie and see if she knows anything about this.
Okay. I didn't have anything else. Okay. All right, if not, on our, Mr. Okay, so, that are side.
Outside of
Okay.
it, yeah, I just wanted to mention to the board that next week, Lisa Director Jan Hamlin will be here to update the board on the work that's taking place through RISA 2. They're heavily involved right now in what we're doing at West Hamlin Elementary, providing support at that school. She'll talk about that work as well as some of the other activities that are taking place in our campus. Jan will be here next week for that discussion. Update. Our mobile home at the high school. It's been vacant for a while. We're getting ready to move the state trooper in there. A gentleman by the name of Patrick Robinette. He has been assigned to the Hamlin detachment for the past 2 years. I believe he actually lives in Logan County. He came to see me yesterday. I walked through the agreement with him. He signed off on it. Trooper Ellis, his supervisor, signed off on the agreement. It was too late to get that on today's board agenda, of course, so next week, I'll have that agreement on there for you to approve. So excited about having law enforcement officer back over at Cox.
And just for those of us that haven't read the agreement or haven't read it recently, what are the highlights of that? I mean, I think I remember reading it not long ago.
Oh,
It was
yes.
something that was presented to us, wasn't it?
Right,
We revised it because of some concerns we had.
that's right.
Basically, we pay all the expenses, utilities.
This person's responsible for paying for utilities, and that's water, sewer, and electric. Of course, if they want cable, television, whatever, they would have that responsibility as well. They'd also be responsible for maintaining the grounds, the property there around the mobile home.
Okay.
is just a little small area
Right.
to mow. And then there's a few other things about provide security. If something was to happen at the high school, they're there and respond to whatever may be taking place.
I think it's great having a police officer's vehicle there many hours a day.
Well, that's one thing we had in the agreement, had to be a police officer that lived in the trade. Somebody had authority.
You'll present that to us, that copy of that agreement will be on the tomorrow.
Yes, be on the next week's agenda.
We can refresh our. Okay, good.
Good for everyone involved, including the
Through
officer.
Mr.
He's really thankful to the board for the opportunity to be able to stay over there. So it's a good deal.
Worked out well for everyone.
And then I'd like to request an executive session to provide the board with an agreement update this afternoon.
Okay, Mr. McKipp has asked for executive session for personnel reasons, a grievance update. Is there a motion for that?
I'll move it.
Mr. Baker made the motion, second by Mr. Curry. Is that an all yes vote?
Yes.
Yes? Okay. So the board's going to executive session at 2:38.